How to protect your business. I had a great time advising entrepreneurs on protection that is required for businesses physically as well as in the online domain. It is very important to understand security, information technology, but just not the role of information technology in a very detached sort of a way. It needs to be something that has to be integrated with marketing, human resources, accounting, as well as other streams. I really had a great time connecting with a lot of Canadian entrepreneurs wherein we talked about protection at the business space. One of the biggest recommendations that I have made to a few of the bodies is to kind of look at the entire space of monitoring and surveillance. I have seen a lot of broadcasters who have, had like large offices wherein they give seats and at strategic locations to few people, and this is not something that was happening in Canada, but I remember working with a couple of UK organizations wherein they would have like strategic locations wherein they would put a seat of a person, and they would really ensure that there was a lot of people who are sitting together in a huddle, and everybody is very close to each other. And I remember going to a contact center where people sit in a huddle where they do things in a very crowded manner. But today it's really important that while there is uh, that level of connectivity and data connectivity that allows people to be integrated with each other, it's also important that strategically seats of people are given in locations wherein they have wherein they have wherein it's culturally sensitive for people to not get exposed to others based on the kind of background, skills, competencies that people have. That was one area that I have really thought, I felt very strongly about. Physical locations need to be protected. It is good to kind of have good storage lockers for many businesses where the products are really expensive. But in addition to expensive lockers, the seating and the look, the seating should be such that it should not be exposed to third parties, parties that are actually intruding onto the privacy of a person. And especially for women, it is very important that there is that kind of a privacy security as well as health and safety measures that are addressed. It is important to have group activities, but sometimes group activities must be combined with individual activities, as and there has to be a context in which a group activity must be done. The third thing is, and also the one of the biggest ways of protecting a business is not taking calls from people who actually call you to kind of come to a location. I have seen a lot of people who make these calls where they ask people to come to a location, and when you go there, you realize that, and it's not been a case of mismanagement of meetings and schedules, but sometimes the logistics are such that those events do not transpire in the way one would like them to transpire. Sometimes meetings are happening, but in those meetings, the agenda is not addressed properly. A few people are able to communicate through text, Word document, Excel sheets, but there are many people who are not even actually getting to be connected on the right files. Sometimes, the email security systems are such that, a person is not allowed to communicate or connect with many groups of people. Sometimes, the security measures are such that it actually is exploiting a human resource rather than actually giving them a reason to grow. So I think there are a lot of ways in which the businesses can physically protect themselves so that it is not a physical pain for anybody to be working at a workplace that does not understand the culture well. So one of biggest recommendations that Karishma has given is to invest in an employee ID system that verifies employees' office culture, on the physical location. Also, to invest in a employee engagement program that allows privacy on emails, on secure and the highest level of security, as well as it ensures that people are given new hires are given locations of and seating based on the kind of competencies they bring to the table. And I think that is the kind of leadership sensitivity that is required. Having a group activity is critical to ensuring that a goal is addressed, but a lot of startups get lost by just doing group activity where everybody is showing up and they are really not connecting to the larger project design. So and it's very critical to have an office seating wherein privacy is addressed and a person is not allowed to sit in a group area unless they are presenting, unless they have certain things that is needed for them to be face to face with the people they need to be. So I think those are the important things. And obviously the other big area of protection is intellectual property, where the intellectual property and patenting system has to be great, and where everybody's ideas are preserved, people's ideas are ensured that those are addressed, and people are not blocking others from moving around. Like, it's honestly one of the silliest things that I've seen is when peers pressurize each other and they stop somebody from moving from one location to the other. I've seen a lot of people who actually have a problem if somebody is walking around. If there are people who have a problem if somebody has a way of processing information. There are many people who process information by understanding what they are going to do, when they are going to do, how they are going to do, and they process the information by walking around. They process the information by chatting. They process the information by texting. They process the information by drawing a doodle. And it's important that protection of a business is done. And I think it's unfortunate some of the big enterprises in the UK, in India, are not keeping up to those measures. And I think when I spoke to a lot of Canadian entrepreneurs, and the kind of patenting systems that they have is by far more superior than a lot of social enterprises that I've worked at. And I genuinely feel that investing in business means not monitoring places, not putting in surveillance cameras at the right places, so that people can feel afraid of things that are going around them, but to use the idea of collection of data with intelligence and empathy. The companies that actually manage human resources and manage information, as well as manage seating of a person well, are the companies that actually get the best revenue. The companies that are not able to address people in a group or in a team are unfortunate companies. And if they are not able to protect the people that they work with, they can't protect the business. If they can't protect the business, they can't protect the external environment. And if they can't protect the internal and the external environment, think of what are the repercussions or the risks that they face if they get a lot of funds. So it's important to understand that the companies that invest physically in a location and ensure that all the sensitivities of the larger group and the stakeholders is addressed are the businesses that prosper. And my sweet and short recommendation is to invest in an ID system wherein all members of that organization are feeling not just safe, but are feeling happy and are growing forward in terms of in terms of revenue, in terms of a turnover, as well as in terms of just the reputation.